expectation that from wherever the departure was taking place, that in just a short while, we could be assured that we would gather again at the house that was the family home. In this statement, the house is a place of security, a place of comfort, a place of rejoicing. And in using this phrase, we knew that while we may have gone in separate directions during the course of our day or the course of our lives, we recognized that when we got back to the house, when we got back home, everything was going to be all right. No matter how our day was or no matter what happened in the course of our day, if we could just make it back home, whatever we needed would be supplied. If regrouping was necessary, there we would regroup. If comfort was needed, there we would receive comfort. If correction was needed, there we would be corrected. We were injured physically, emotionally, or spiritually, it was there we would receive the necessary healing for our lives. If we needed direction, we could get proper direction. But also, if we just needed to celebrate and rejoice, there would be someone at the house to celebrate with us. I know I'm right about it in our text this morning. Jesus is recognizing that his disciples are feeling sad because of his impending departure, and knowing that all physical separation among humans of anyone they love is going to cause some sadness. It's going to cause some pain. It's going to cause some discomfort and even, reader, some anxiety. Jesus, knowing this, instructed the Apostle John to pen these words of assurance. That I am labeling today, Lynn, I'll see you at the house. Jesus says to his troubled disciples, let not your heart be troubled. He says, let not your innermost emotions, your innermost feelings be those of the troubling kind. Watch this. This is not a condemnation on grief. This is not a condemnation on crime. This is not a condemnation on expressing how you feel at the death of a loved one. How you know that, preacher? I know it because he uses a word here in the Greek that literally means don't stay or don't continue in a troubled state indefinitely. Watch this. The disciples were troubled because Jesus had been telling them that he was going to be leaving them in a very short while. They were troubled because they were beginning to feel the fact that he was no longer going to be with them always. And he recognized that because of that, they were troubled. And he said to them, you can be troubled now, but don't be troubled always. He said it's all right to cry, but don't cry always. He is not saying you won't be troubled on days like this. This has to be the hardest day in the life of some of us on today. He is saying don't stay troubled. Don't stay in a state of stirred up agitation. I hear you this morning saying, but you don't understand. My life has been radically affected by the death of Leonard. And you're right. I don't understand. I can't begin to comprehend how Rita really feels. I can't begin to comprehend how Evelyn really feels. I can't begin to comprehend how Les really, I can't begin to comprehend how Brittany or Corey, anybody else really feels on the inside. What I know is how I feel. And that is immensely sad. Look, I hate it that I won't get to call him and laugh on the phone for hours at a time. I feel sad and I hate it that I won't get to get advice from him any further. I hate it that we won't be able to call and just be checking checking on one another and checking on our family. I miss the fact that we won't get to sit up no more and see who falls asleep first and takes pictures of the other one and texts it to one and says, see, I told you fell asleep first. But if how I feel is a fraction of how you feel, you will be able to understand my question to Jesus of this text. Here it is. Jesus, how is Rita? How is Evelyn or Corey? Or how is Les or Brittany? Or how are all of Lynn's family and friends? How are any of us supposed to live out the double negative of this command? To let not or to don't continue to be troubled at this hour and in the coming days, weeks, and months as we adjust to life on earth without Leonard Lee Robinson, who was the center of any gathering. Leonard was an extrovert and I was an introvert, and it was great to have an extrovert in your life when you were an introvert, because you don't have to worry about talking or meeting nobody, because he was going to make sure that if it was somebody to be met, he was going to make sure you got to meet them, because everywhere he went, he found and made friends. Jesus said to me, read, he said, Floyd, just keep on reading. When I continued to read, I found where Jesus said, ye believe in God. This was not a question to the disciples. He wasn't asking them, do you believe in God? It was a statement of fact that the disciples had belief in God. He said, believe also in me. Watch this. Jesus says, Floyd, he says, Rita, he says, Evelyn, he says, Miss Reese, how you're going to get through is by knowing what you believe in and who you believe in. I know I'm right about it. He says, just like Lynn entrusted his life to God and his heart to Christ, you likewise trust in my finished work on Calvary. Jesus says, Rita, because of his work on Calvary and his work in heaven. Today, Brittany, we're not saying goodbye to Lynn. We're only saying see you later. I know I'm right about it. Or we're saying, Lynn, I'll see you at the house. I know I'm right about it. Jesus says, in my Father's house. My Father who is the nourisher, my Father who is the protector, my Father who is the giver and taker of life, my Father who is the upholder of life. He says, watch this, in Abba's house. Y'all know what Abba's house is? That means in Daddy's house. In Daddy's house, or in my Daddy's estate. There are many mansions, there are many abodes, there are many lasting, eternal, abiding places. And Jesus says, if it were not so, I would have told you so in my Father's house. Jesus says, if it were not so, I would have told you so. Would I have told you that I go and prepare a place for you? Anybody here understand that Jesus' work in the earth was finished when he went to Calvary, hung, bled, and died, but his work in earth was finished. His work in heaven was still taking place. He said he went to prepare a place for you. And watch this. He says, if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again. I will come again and take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. That's what's happened on the morning of January 9th, 2021. Jesus showed up and said to your husband of 36 years and your brother of 73 years and your father, your uncle, our dear friend, your earthly labor is over. Your heavenly reward is prepared. Can I help you? That when we close our eyes on this side, our labor is done. But as soon, instantaneously, as we close them on this side and open them on the other side, we receive the reward that God has for us by allowing us to enter into His presence. Really, that's why the smile was on his face. He was able to see Jesus, Elder. He was able to see the tree. He was able to see the house. You know the tree, don't you? The tree whose leaves are good for the healing of the nation. It's a tree in heaven on Straight Street. That when you show up with all of your earthly elements and all of your earthly pain, he said, and the leaves of the tree are good for the healing of the nation. You can stop by the tree, and whatever was ailing you on earth is no longer ailing you in heaven, because there's a tree that's good for the healing of the nation. Then he was able to see the house that was prepared for him. The abode the room that he has for all believers. I can hear him laughing and saying, now that's all right. I can see that big old smile on his face as he gets his heavenly assignment. Lynn was so gifted, I'll be curious myself just to get there to see what his heavenly assignment might be. He might be singing in the heavenly choir. All right. I used to kid him all the time about, man, you never told me you sung. But he might be singing in the heavenly choir. Or he might be over the treasury of the heavenly host. All right. He might be preparing the horses for the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he might be doing one of the things he done best. Putting a smile on the face of somebody else. It seemed like everyone he talked to in the conversation, always at some point in the conversation, they busted out with a big smile. Because his smile was contagious. His joy was contagious. His love for life was contagious. And he might be just there being the greeter. Greeting everybody that comes in with that big smile, with that heart full of joy, that heart full of love, that reminds them that they were in the right place at the right time right now. But I can guarantee you, whatever he's doing it with joy. All right. I told my wife that I can't remember every word that he spoke to me. I don't have good recall like that. But I told her what I can always remember, Ellen, is how he made me feel. Lest I can remember how he came up to me on that rail in Vegas at the horse show, and I was sitting there all alone and by myself and spending money and not having much fun, just there. And he entered my life on that day in March in 2010, and my life ain't never been the same since. I remember how he made me feel. He made me feel accepted. He made me feel loved. He made me feel like I was somebody more than what I really was. I said, man, I'm not all that you think of, but you sure do make me feel good. He's one of the few men in life I've ever said the words, I love you to. Because he was just that kind of friend. And I know he wasn't just that kind of friend to me, he was that kind of friend to some of you. He was that kind of family member to you. He always brought joy and laughter into the room. We had so much fun when we was together. It was just like it was something that God had ordained a long time ago for us to meet and to be friends, because he just brought joy to my life. I know you look at me funny, but a lot of times people don't bring joy to your life, they bring trouble to your life. But Lynn is the kind of person that brings joy to my life. He brought joy to my life. He brought joy to your life. And he was humble enough to always want a clear understanding. That way he was like Thomas in the text. Jesus said, you know the way to where I'm going. Thomas spoke up and said, Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way? Jesus said to Thomas, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. All I can tell you today, read all I can tell you today, all I can tell you today, Miss Reese, Les, Brittany, is that Lynn beat us to the house.